The defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning were shocked in Game 2 by the Colorado Avalanche. Adam Denkar of Locked On Lightning stops by to say what the Bolts can do to try to get back into this series. All that and more coming up on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And Gil Martin, glad to be back with you here on the Locked On NHL podcast. And thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Lightning, Adam Denkar. And Adam, I wish for you that these were better circumstances. Let's address the elephant in the room. What went wrong or what didn't go wrong may be the easier question. What happened in Game 2?
Everything happened that could have possibly have went wrong in that game, other than short of a massive injury to a player, which I guess is the positive we could grab from this. But Gil, we were talking before and I just got done recording my own show, and oh my God, I even 24 hours later, I still can't. It is, and I said this on my show, and I said this before to you, but I will say this to the Locked On NHL viewers and listeners: this was the worst loss in franchise history, hands down. And we were talking about it, and I, at least in my life, and you've been watching hockey way longer than I have never seen anything like this. A team of the caliber of the Lightning, especially the Stanley Cup Final. I can't even think the last time, even in any really championship of any of the four major sports, that we saw not only a lopsided score like this, but utter dominance. And you know, the Lightning have had their struggles with this and that all season long, but they were not only handed a huge whipping by this Colorado team. Colorado exploited every single hole in their game, something that Tampa has not experienced in quite some time.
How do you address the speed advantage that Colorado obviously has so far in this series?
Well, I think really we saw them adjust to it in Game 1. In that second period, Lightning, were a little bit overwhelmed in the first. Early stages, it was a little bit more of the same thing, but as we progressed halfway through, especially once the Lightning got that second goal of the game, you start to see them really slow things down. And I said in the preview shows with the Locked On Avalanche guys, as well as on my own, is really the key was to this series is that, let's face it, especially on the road in Colorado with the high altitude. We saw it last night, Zach Bogosian, something that I think a lot of Lightning fans didn't really notice at the time is he had the oxygen can in his mouth and he was sucking in more air. And I think really that is something that Colorado has done a good job of using the elements to their favor. And we, you don't really hear that a lot when you talk about a sport that is played indoors mostly. But you saw Tampa really struggle to hold their own out there on the rushes. But in that second period, what you saw was them start to slow it down, start to organize the offensive attack. There was you saw little flashes of it in Game 2, but the issue there really wasn't so much that they were doing that, Gil, is that they weren't getting a chance. They were turning over the puck before they even got a chance to go on the offensive break. They only had 16 shots on net all game, which is wild if you really think about it, considering all the weapons that they have. And really that's where it starts from, is that this team has struggled with possession all season long. And we've seen it here and there. We saw it especially in the playoff series against the Leafs and with the Rangers. This team goes through their mood swings where one night they play perfect hockey, they do the little things right, and you see it on the scoreboard. And then you see what happened the last two games. And it's really the inconsistencies that have really burned the Lightning in this series.
Is it easier psychologically in your mind to dismiss a 7-0 loss rather than if you lost both of the first two games in overtime? Or, how do you bounce back emotionally after a game like that?
It's never easy, regardless of what time of the season you lose a game like this, and I think it's even more amplified, considering how little of a fight back there was from this Tampa team. They did not. We kind of saw towards the end, and I hate to say this, especially about my own team, but they quit. They quit on themselves. And there's no easy way to say it, especially with their goaltender still out there, which, some might criticize that decision. And some people might say, well, you're going to kill his confidence level for the rest of the series. I think not. I think this is going to motivate Vasilevsky. It's funny. I was thinking of the whole Patrick Waugh incident in Montreal while he was
Right.
keeping him out there. I don't think Vasilevsky was ever going to go up to John Cooper between whistles and say, this is the last game I'm going to play. But I think he put him out there kind of as a message towards the team, because I think he saw it too, as well as towards the fan base, that regardless of how far we're down in the series, in this game, we're gonna battle back and show that we're not gonna quit. I think the one positive from this is that really, from especially a loss like this, there's no way but to go but up. I mean, it like I said before, it really couldn't get much worse, barring a massive injury to a very key figure on this team. This team really, what you have to do psychologically is just take it shift by shift. That's really what it comes down to. This team really needs to take a step take a step back and say, listen, let's just go out there, play our game. Let's not worry about racing against this Colorado team. We're not going to win. We clearly haven't been winning doing that in this
Right.
series. And I really think that that's what it comes down to is make clear decisions when you're passing the puck, especially in the neutral zone. As well as defending your own crease, which we have seen Tampa for the most part do a very poor job of. So I really think if they could take that mindset and said, let's just do the little things the right way, which we saw them do in the New York series, I don't see a reason as to why not they can't get back in this series with the 2-game set that they'll have in Tampa. But it's definitely not going to be an easy hill to climb, especially against this Colorado team.
Do you expect any lineup changes or strategy changes for game 3?
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked with John Cooper. He's always looking to change things. You've seen him change things here and there throughout the course of a game. I think really what it's going to come down to is you're going to see some guys getting a lot more ice time. Nikita Kucherov got a ton of ice time in the New York series. You didn't see he barely got 20 minutes in that game 1 loss in overtime. I think we're going to see a lot more minutes out of Nikita Kucherov. I hate to say it, even the series is still early in the scope of things. If this goes 7, this might be a decision, that could potentially backfire. But I think it's all hands on deck right now. I think the Lightning need to treat game 3 as if it was a clinching game for the other team. Because if they lose, especially in the fashion again that they lost in game 2, I mean the series is pretty much over from there on in. I think you're going to see a lot of ice time out of Steven Stamkos, especially that top line, Stamkos, Kucherov. I think you're going to see a lot more point time on that line as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see maybe Ross Colton get moved up here and there. I think if you don't see a good effort off the initial puck drop, or a good effect off the initial puck drop, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of jumbles it up as we go along.
All right, Adam, why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
You can find the pod at LO_Lightning on Twitter, as well as Locked_Lightning on Instagram. The pod is available wherever podcasts are distributed in audio form. We're also on YouTube, so go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell as soon as the newest episode drops on either platform. You'll be notified and can listen to the newest episode. I'm on Twitter at DenkyDank, DenkyDank. Colorado fans have not been shy about reaching out to me over the past couple of days, and I love the rapport. Listen, I think they have everything to be happy about, Gil. But you have to remind people it's a best of 7, and you got to win 4, not 2. We could blink and talk about going to game 4 that the Lightning are 1 win away from tying this series up. So it's that easy. They've done it before. Like I said, it's easier said than done. They just have to go out there and play the right way, and we shouldn't have anything to worry about.
All right. Adam Denkar, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today to use your mobile device or learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.